Yuji Itadori grew up without really having much of a family. His father gone, his mother gone as well. All he had was his grandfather. So what would that mean for his life? What would that mean for the way he grew up? He grew up just loving his grandfather, not really needing or wanting many friends, only having about 2. But what would happen if Yuji Itadori wasn't just going through life how he normally does in the original version of Jujutsu Kaisen? What if Yuji Itadori was the vessel of Veldora Tempest, a giant, powerful dragon? And we're gonna find out on What If Itadori was Veldora's vessel. Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls Golden. What if, whatever you want to call me, and I am back with a brand new What If. What if Itadori was Veldora's vessel? If you know who Veldora is, he is from that time I got reincarnated as a slime. And if you don't know who he is, just know that he's a big, powerful dragon. So it should be very fun in terms of this writing and this What If. I also want to give a big thank you to everybody watching currently. I just hit my year mark, at least the time of this recording. It's my year mark for my channel. So I want to say thank you for all the support. We've been growing like crazy, especially recently. We went from 15,000 to 18,000 subs in a matter of about a month and a half. I find that absolutely ridiculous. Do I think I deserve that? I really don't. I think I put in tons of work, but it's all because of y'all and all the support y'all give me. Well, every time you hit that like button, every time you subscribe, every time you comment, every time you watch the video through and through, it helps me out a ton. But with that all said, I'm not going to waste any more of your time, and we're about to get into What If Itadori was Veldora's vessel. Let's get it. Yuji Itadori is a 10-year-old child, maybe even younger. He's been moving around with his grandfather, someone that was a bit hard-headed, but he had a loving nature. Yuji knew how much his grandfather loved him and would always take him around, and they would go for walks through this forest every single day. But one day, abruptly, they stopped doing so, and it was all because of one single thing. Yuji, one of those days, wandered off deeper into the forest and entered into a cave. His grandfather was right behind him, chasing him down, but when he entered the cave, it was as if Itadori just disappeared into nothing. He's confused. The cave doesn't even go deeper. He tries to walk into the cave, and it feels like there's something restricting him. Yuji, at the age of, you could even say 8 to 10 years old, walks into said cave and begins looking around. A curious boy Itadori was, he continued his journey, but alone. He began looking around until he saw a couple of giant scorpion-like monsters. He didn't know what to do. He was terrified. He even screamed on reaction. But just as he saw them, those monsters were vaporized into this black smoke. They're gone, murdered, killed by some black lightning that struck from the cave ceiling, what it seemed like. He walked deeper into the cave and he heard the grumble of something, and it began to call out to him. "Yuji Itadori, please come this way, my boy." Yuji followed it and asked the voice that he's been hearing, how does he know his name? It doesn't make sense. He doesn't know anybody out here. He doesn't know anybody. And the dragon begins to show himself. There's a barrier in front of him, and he stands in front of Itadori. The dragon kneels down slightly and says that his name is Veldora Tempest. "I am a dragon from another world. A dragon that has gone through many different forms. I was once a human, a dragon, and then a dragon once again. But now I'm stuck in this imprisonment, and very few people even have the power or the want to get me out." Veldora begins to talk with Itadori, saying that he's not one of those other dragons. He's a friendly one. He misses his old friend, but he knows that his old friend back in his other world would have wanted him to meet someone like Itadori, some impressionable kid, some kid that he can have an impact to help. He can tell deep down in Itadori's chest that he is destined for greater things. He's stronger, faster than everybody in his class, everybody in multiple years ahead of him. Veldora senses the power from this boy and says that he can tell that this world is overrun by something different. He's never been to something like this, but this world is overrun by curses. And he's not sure how to explain it to Itadori because frankly, he doesn't even know how to explain it to himself. He doesn't understand, he only can sense things on the outside. But curses, monsters, anything that entered his cave, his domain, would get vaporized. He would make sure that this place was safe on the small chance that there would be another person to walk through his cave to invite him within. And Yuji has no idea what's really going on. He's such a young kid. He might be decently smart, you could say, but he still lacks a lot of knowledge. But he walks up to the dragon and asks for him to promise that he's a nice dragon, and Yuji puts out his pinky finger. The dragon puts out his pinky finger as well, and they touch on the barrier, and immediately the light begins to fade from the dragon, and it begins to get shot right into Yuji. Yuji, out of nowhere, sees that there is no dragon no more. Veldora Tempest is now within Itadori. And he walks out of the cave, and it was as if it was only 5 seconds. Yuji has been talking to this person for the last 15 minutes, but for his grandfather, it's only been 5 seconds. He's shocked to see this, that Itadori just walked out of this force field like it was nothing, but he knows that he's going to have to keep an eye on this boy, and keep an eye on him the best he possibly can. But without his grandfather even knowing it, there's somebody that's keeping an eye on them, or somebody and a group of people, frankly, keeping an eye on Veldora himself. They've heard of this said dragon. They didn't want to approach it, but they were worried that it could become a problem in the near future if someone found it. But every time they would even go near it, it was as if they could not enter that domain. Veldora was the one who was choosing to let in. So unbeknownst to them, this was no, scary factor in their life. Veldora had complete control if the person was bad. If the person was bad, he would have not let them enter. Or if they were not the one he wanted for to be his vessel, he would not let them in either. What they didn't know was that Itadori was handpicked. But that didn't matter now. So after a couple years pass, and basically high school is at an end, Itadori and his grandfather, who's practically on his deathbed, gets approached by a man with a blindfold on, and he begins to talk very casually to Itadori and his grandfather, saying that his name is Satoru Gojo, and he wants to take in Itadori, and he wants him to be trained under Gojo himself. And his grandfather turns and says whatever, as long as his grandson is basically having a good time and enjoying himself. Itadori looks at his grandfather and says that he can sense that it's not just that. And his grandfather turns to his side and makes Itadori promise that he'll make sure to save people. That he's strong, smart, fast, great-willed. That he'll save people no matter what. And whatever comes along the way, he can die happy in that near future. Satoru Gojo looks at Itadori and even kind of smiles, thinking that his grandfather has bestowed the proper wisdom within him, and this should be very easy for him to get into Jujutsu Tech if he so chooses to do so. So in this world, Itadori would join a lot sooner. But how would he join? Let's find out. Itadori would basically head off with Gojo after mourning the death of his grandfather. And when they were leaving, Gojo begins explaining something, that they're searching for something, that they're searching for what they know as Sukuna's fingers, and supposedly one is around here right now. Gojo himself has been doing some touring, just, enjoying his time, getting some souvenirs, stuff like that. But Itadori questions him why he would be doing that if something so serious was going on. Gojo scoffs at this and says that he wasn't actually just doing that. He was doing far more stuff than just getting souvenirs. It's just his way of kind of laughing it off. Sukuna's fingers are very important, and they are not to be eaten by any other monster. And Itadori, in his curiousness, asks what if a human ate them, and he shakes his head, saying that most humans, I mean even a sorcerer, would not be able to normally handle that type of power. There are few and far in between that can become vessels to Sukuna, but that is just not the case in terms of anything else. But Itadori hears this and understands. It's not like he wants to eat a finger by any chance or by any means. That's until the night comes and Gojo takes Itadori somewhere. But during this little travel, or this little off time they're having, Itadori begins to sense something. And Gojo knows exactly what's happening, and they head over to this high school. When they arrive at this high school, luckily they get there slightly earlier, and those people that were actually unwrapping Sukuna's finger were able to be saved. And this is all because of Itadori. Gojo actually sees this and says that he wants Itadori to fight those things. He can tell that he has cursed energy boiling within him, and that he just doesn't know how to use it, and that he has another power. He's not so sure about it, but he knows it involves cursed energy, and it must be a way for him to channel it. Whatever he has within him, it's very strong. Itadori is shocked to see this or hear this, and he begins questioning Gojo about how he even knows about it. And Veldora speaks with him and basically tells Itadori that Gojo and the Jujutsu sorcerers have been watching him for a while, but they had no chance of coming in because none of them were proper vessels for himself. Someone that was in need, someone that truly needed his power and wanted to make a difference, deserves to have that power. And Gojo is shocked to even hear the fact that Veldora is fluently communicating with Itadori, thinking that Veldora must not be a problem at all. Itadori is like friends with Veldora. It's so odd. But even with that said, Itadori goes diving through the window, kicking the monster off of his friends, dragging them out, and even grabbing Sukuna's finger. He throws it to Megumi, and he basically tells him to get out of here with the finger, that he can handle this. Megumi is shocked to see this and even looks to his right to see Gojo himself. He wonders, maybe Gojo sent this guy. Maybe he's that strong? Okay, I have to trust him. He jumps out and Itadori just walks toward the curse, slowly but surely. The curse tries to attack him, but it's like he's untouchable. The curse is not even close to the level of Itadori, or at least the combination of Itadori and Veldora. Their intelligence is far superior than anything that these curses will have seen in a long time. He's extremely smart, has thought acceleration, and has various other things, including pain nullification, physical attack nullification, spiritual nullification, and so much more. On top of this, he has a special magic. It's a mix of the magic that was in Veldora's world, but a mix of curse energy as well. Veldora has actually felt this curse energy and has been able to replicate it. Of course, without Veldora's strength, Itadori cannot use curse energy so easily, but with it, he 100% can. Channeling this lightning fist in his hand and begins to charge at the curse, striking it one time and it obliterates it, sending this black lightning all around it and exploding it everywhere. Veldora commends him for how good he did, and he said that he still needs to work on his technique and that he can do something way stronger than that, and there is so much more for him to learn on top of this cursed energy. Veldora says himself that he'll be learning it with him, so them figuring it out will be easy as pie. And he kind of laughs at this, hearing this, or Itadori laughs at this, and asks if Veldora has even eaten pie before. He says that he hasn't, but they should definitely try some later. And Itadori says that he promises they will. There's no other curses left. And the reason for this is the sheer power that Itadori just gave off. There is nobody, no curse that is dumb enough to come and step up to Itadori at this moment, especially with Gojo standing right there on top of that. They're not idiots. These curses are slightly more intelligent, so no more are definitely going to come out at this time. They'll cut their losses and leave for now. Itadori jumps back on the other roof and basically walks up and shakes Megumi's hand. Sorry for kind of just throwing the finger at you like that. Just wanted to make sure everything went all proper. I heard how dangerous those things are. And Megumi agrees, saying that they are very dangerous. And Veldora says that they should totally eat that finger, but Itadori is so confused to hear this, and Veldora said he's kidding, just grab the finger from him. And Megumi gets explained from Itadori, and he's confused and looks at Gojo, and Gojo just shrugs and tells him to hand over the finger. So Itadori grabs it, and when he puts it in his hand, it begins to burn up. It begins to burn up and completely incinerate into ash. Veldora begins to speak with Itadori and tells him, or asks him, if he can basically speak for him. So he nods, and Veldora begins to speak to the two of them. This Sukuna, this demon or curse, whatever you want to call him, I can destroy his fingers. You don't need to worry about that. If there is a lot of the fingers, Itadori here may have to eat them though. It takes too much power for me to just destroy them by hand. But they will go away. But once Itadori gets back all of control, Gojo and Megumi say that if they find any other fingers, they'll just destroy them normally. Let's not have Itadori take the risk of eating them. Yes, they do trust Veldora and they do trust Itadori to a certain extent, but the thing is, if his dragon is wrong and if Veldora is incorrect, it could basically put a giant problem at risk, killing Itadori, and the fact that if he is a suitable vessel for both of them, it could go really bad really fast. So Itadori kind of shrugs and says that that's fine, he's fine with that, as long as he can just destroy them one by one. So that is confirmed and done with. Now Itadori needs to be taken back to Jujutsu Tech to actually be instated. So that's exactly what they do. They drop off Megumi and they bring in Itadori to have an interview with the principal. When he meets the principal asks him why he wants to even join Jujutsu Tech. He explains that not only does he want to fulfill the wishes of his grandfather when he was on his deathbed, he wants to save people as much as he possibly can, just like how Veldora's past vessel did. Save as many people as possible and have them choose their own ways of dying. Not dying because of things they can't see. Not dying because of their own emotions and curses that built up to kill everybody. Not dying because of that. Dying on their own free will about how they want to die. That's what Itadori wants. And the principal smirks slightly and nods, saying that he's excited to have him on board, especially because he's heard about being the vessel of Veldora, the dragon that was in that cave. He says that they've been monitoring that dragon. They had no idea what the name was, no idea what it was, but they heard about it. And for some reason, none of them could get close. But now Itadori shows up, and he's the vessel of that dragon. They all find it very interesting. Very, very interesting. But with all that said, they're done with their interview, and Itadori and Gojo head off to get him his room, in which he puts his room right by Megumi's, explaining that tomorrow morning they're actually going to be setting off to meet up with their third and final member, and to be ready bright and early. But that so-called bright and early didn't really work out too well. But nonetheless, they do meet up with their third first-year student, Nobara Kugisaki. They meet up with her, and she actually introduces herself, thinking that Megumi is very boring and emo, and that Yuji seems a little too upbeat, but she can get used to these two people. They all are then given a mission, and basically Gojo explains that there's an abandoned building that is occupied by curses, and that this will be a test for Nobara. But someone's gonna have to go in there with her, and Itadori says that he still wants to do some practice with some of his powers, so he sees this as a good chance. Gojo says to hold back and let Nobara do as much of the work as possible, because these curses aren't going to be necessarily very hard for Itadori by any means. Itadori nods and walks off, and Megumi even asks once again how this kid would even be this strong. This is actually feels like it's unfathomable. How would he even output that type of energy when he barely knows how to control cursed energy himself? It's all the dragon? And Gojo nods, saying that it's most likely just the dragon doing most of the work. But the more that the dragon does this work, the more Itadori learns. He points it out and says, does he not notice? Even during that fight, that boy, he was developing, learning. And every time, every punch he threw, every idea he had, it just piled on and on and on. Gojo says that Megumi, you can see it, right? Megumi realizes this, that Itadori, he actually does have even better curse control than what he did in the very beginning. In the very beginning, he had practically none. It was like a wildfire being contained by this dragon of some sorts that it's like he puts his wings around the fire to control it. But now it's different. It's as if Veldora is producing this energy for him, and he's actually wielding it in the fingertips, in his hands, everything about it. And the more he uses it, it's blatantly obvious that it's gonna get stronger and stronger, and that Itadori will have perfect control of this in no time. It seems like he has some accelerated thought process, some insane academic and intelligence, and Megumi is just shocked to even realize this. And Gojo says that this kid is truly special, something that they haven't seen really ever. You're making it seem like he's stronger than you, Gojo. No, not stronger than me, of course, but I definitely will tell you, the kid's not far off. With the right training, with the right guidance, he can be stronger than me by his second year. It wouldn't even be a surprise. And Megumi is shocked to see it, or hear this. By his second year, stronger than you? I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah, I know, but you will see it, trust me. We'll be training him hard, or, well, I will be, and maybe some help from other people, but that's beyond the point. The elders, though, on the other hand, are not too fond of him. Not too fond of him wielding this said dragon, even though the dragon was of no harm until quote-unquote now. So what are you saying, Gojo? Not saying much, but put it out there that be ready for some harder missions. At least you could say that. And Megumi his eyes grow wide when he hears this, and he looks at Gojo, and he understands the read. That these elders may be even so terrified of him that they'll try to throw them into the fire so that Megumi and Nobara could die as well. Not because that they're the targets, but because Yuji is that important. That they'd rather Yuji die with the rest of them at least, compared to them trying to kill Yuji themselves, and maybe some aftermath occurs because of it. But if Yuji dies with his team, it just seems like a normal day in the park, or a normal day as a jujitsu sorcerer. Even if 2 out of 3 of them die, it's normal. So sending them on a mission could be a way for Yuji to die. Gojo basically just says to keep an eye out for that, and that's about it. Yuji and Nobara, currently in the building, or the abandoned building that's in front of them, they begin to scale the building, begin to look for any curses that they can possibly find, and Nobara says that she'll go to the top and that Yuji should start from the bottom and clear them out like that. Yuji says that that's really not the best way to go about this, but if that's really what she wants, that's fine. So he begins to clear out the bottom levels until he hears a ruckus upstairs. It seems like Nobara has found the curse. Immediately Yuji breaks through a wall that is right behind the curse, grabbing it and not letting it go. The curse tries to struggle its way out, but frankly, Yuji's not letting it move by any means, and he stares at the curse, and the curse begins to panic, trying to get away even more. Nobara thinks that this is ridiculous, and that he must be some freak. How the hell is that curse so afraid of you? He rips off the curse's arm and throws it to Nobara. You have some technique for that, right? He throws him out the window, and immediately Nobara pulls out a straw doll and slams a nail into that doll, killing it. Immediately killing the curse. And Nobara is still at a loss for words, but Itadori just smiles and says that it's really nothing important. It's nothing for her to worry about too much. Let's just say that he has a power within him that is very similar to a dragon. He walks away and they both leave, and Gojo congratulates them, saying that they both did a good job and Itadori did just as he asked. Itadori nods and says that there's no reason for him to step any further and that it was handled nonetheless. Nobara was definitely capable of killing that thing by herself, but some assistance never hurts. And Gojo agrees, saying that teamwork is very important, especially when you have overwhelming power. A month passes and a new incident then arises. An incident that, well, will involve the three sorcerers, Yuji, Megumi, and Nobara, to investigate this so-called womb. The assistant director of Jujutsu High explains that the womb could transform into a special grade, so it's a very dangerous spirit, so basically the choice is to more or less run or die. And they all three nod and say that they'll make sure to get out of there with their lives. But Yuji is curious, and so is Veldora. These special grades, they've heard about these said special grades, but how strong are they truly? They know that the scale is a little bit weird, especially when you're talking about special grades, that there's such a leap in power that you'll never really know how strong they truly are. But when they enter that place, they begin to see that this odd apartment complex begins to change. This place is now completely different, and it seems to be the start of a domain expansion. It seems to be the start of something far different than they've ever seen. It's very chaotic. It's infinite, chaotic, and it's like a wasteland. The inmates have been brutally murdered, and Yuji sees basically the person that this woman was crying about and tears off a little name tag that's on his shirt, putting it in his pocket. Megumi says he doesn't have time for that and that they shouldn't be worrying about some stuff like this, and when he turns to Nobara to see if she agrees, Nobara's not there. Nobara's gone, and there's a dog, his dog, in the wall. One of his wolf companions, or one of his summons, has been completely brutalized, dead. And Yuji is shocked to see this and begins to sense something, pushing Megumi out of the way as he kicks the thing to the wall. He jumps away, grabbing Megumi, putting them at a safe distance. Megumi, it's time for you to go. He questions why Itadori would say that. I can't just leave you here. What are you talking about? Trust me, just run. Get Nobara, get out of here. Nobody can be near me if I fight this thing. I won't be able to control my power enough. I might hurt you. He begins to slowly walk toward the special grade curse, and the special grade curse begins to laugh hysterically. Veldora then begins to speak with Itadori, explaining to him that this is not going to be an easy fight by any means, and maybe Veldora would be able to defeat this monster easily, but Itadori cannot channel all the power, not all of it. But this won't be easy, but it's definitely doable, even with a partial amount of power from Veldora. So, Itadori says that's all he needed to hear, and he asks for guidance during this fight, and he wants to pull out anything that he possibly can. He goes charging at full speed, or at least the full speed he possibly can, at the special grade. They begin to clash over and over, and it seems like this special grade is really strong, but the more power Itadori can channel into his body, the more strength, the more curse energy, the more everything that Veldora is providing him, the more that this fight is obviously in favor of Itadori. This fight is practically over. He's developing as he's fighting. More and more, he's getting used to Veldora's power, used to the rhythm of the fights, used to everything that this curse grade, or this special grade, can throw at him. He hits the special grade right in the stomach, sweeping one of its legs and sending his hand through its stomach. Immediately, the special grade screams in agony, and he grabs him by the neck, slamming it on the ground, and puts his boot on its neck, staring right into the eyes of the special grade, or right into the face of that special grade, and the curse begins to freak out. And all the curse can see is this hulking dragon breathing down its neck. But Itadori doesn't even give the special grade another chance, putting his hand out, and this weird electricity begins to storm out of his hand, and it seems to be like a blast of some sorts. And Itadori kind of smirks and says, "Big Bang Attack," blasting the curse grade, or the special grade, into oblivion and destroying everything in front of him. But he does see something fall out of the special grade, grabbing the finger of Sukuna. Immediately they vaporize it and they begin to head off. Itadori is able to escape the building, obviously, especially with the special grade dead now. But Veldora begins to get questioned by Itadori about how they were able to do that. That was far different than he's ever seen. And Veldora explains that obviously he's getting more used to his power, but Veldora himself was able to do that in his other world. He actually enjoys anime, especially the top ones, and that Dragon Ball Z has a special place in his heart. And Itadori kind of laughs at this and says that the Big Bang Attack is definitely something pretty cool, but he was able to infuse it with curse energy. How was he able to do that? And Veldora says that, and he explains once again that his entire time captive, he learned more and more about curse energy. So he's just helping Itadori at this point, and once he gets his body used to cursed energy as well in its entirety, Itadori would be able to basically use cursed energy on his own as if it was nothing. Veldora is like a helping hand at the moment, but soon all he would have to do is control Veldora's power, and the helping hand won't even be needed. Itadori nods and heads outside the building. Megumi and Nobara see that he's alive. Obviously, Nobara is worse for wear, and they immediately help her out and send her to the hospital. Megumi is practically limping, and Itadori is actually basically unscathed, but he helps Megumi out, and Megumi questions how he was able to do that. He defeated the special grade, huh? Yeah, I did. And how? Come on, dude. It's pretty simple. I'm just better. Itadori kind of smiles, but then shakes his head, saying that Veldora helped him a lot, and that without Veldora, there was no way he was getting out of that alive. Even the special grade was extremely strong, and by raw power, he was able to get out of it. But he's not in full control of Veldora's power, so if he had to fight something 3 times as strong as that being they just fought in there, let's just say Itadori would not have been walking out alive, especially not talking to him right now. The 3 of them head back to Jujutsu Tech and learn of something very interesting, you could say. Instead of going out on missions with somebody else, Yuji is with his team. He's with Megumi and Nobara, and the second years, who are getting ready for a tournament, actually say that they are set to take the place of the third years in about a month, and they say why not, and that they're totally into the idea. And Maki and the other second years begin to point at Yuji Itadori, saying that they've heard about him, someone that defeated a special grade. Very, very interesting. Maki says that she wants to try a hand at him herself and maybe get some sparring in, and so does Panda. So they begin their training. Itadori begins to spar with everybody, sparring with Maki initially, learning that she personally cannot use any curse energy, but she is extremely gifted, and he can learn a thing or two in terms of her fighting style. And it's surprising to her that he practically can mimic it in a matter of a couple training sessions. He explains that that's just one of his powers, and that Veldora, the dragon inside of him, basically helps. Panda says that kind of sounds weird that there's a dragon inside of you, but Maki says that he shouldn't be the one to talk. Panda says that is true, but still. And Itadori explains that he is the vessel to the dragon that he's sure they've heard about. His name is Veldora. Nobody knew his name until I stepped in that cave. But he's a nice dragon. Well, if you don't piss him off. Or try to kill me. And Veldora says he agrees as he changes voices with Itadori, and Itadori just kind of laughs this off. And they're all shocked to see this. They're actually kind of terrified. It's like they're in unison. They're just switching back and forth like they're one being. And a giant dragon took a liking to this kid? He doesn't understand it either, but he likes Veldora. He's a nice guy. And Veldora does chime in and say that his previous best friend, actually would have wanted this. Give power to someone that was less fortunate and give him the means to help others. That's exactly what his best friend would have wanted back in his other world. They have so many more questions, but they decide that they should hold off on that and continue their training. This then leads the first years to basically go on some errand runs for the second years. But during one of these errands, you could say, they're approached by a second year by the name of Mai Zenin, or, well, she goes by Mai, which is Maki's twin sister. But also a third year by the name of Aoi Todo, a very, very strong man. And he sees both Yuji and also Megami looking at both of them, but then staring at Yuji. You have a powerful aura. It's very interesting. But I must ask both of you something very crucial. And if you answer wrong, I might just kill you here and now. And Yuji is actually kind of interested at what he's gonna say. He's heard about this person, Aoi Todo, the one that basically defeated a special grade and various other top grade curses by himself. So he wants to hear what this question is. I want to know what type of woman you like, because for me, it's a woman who's tall and has a fat ass. Yuji says that he agrees that a woman who's tall and has a fat ass is the dream, and that is just like his one and only Jennifer Lawrence. And Todo, hearing this, is baffled. No way. We're destined to be best friends, Yuji Itadori. There's no other way. And he decides that he's gonna wait until obviously the competition, and that they're gonna fight there, and they're gonna have so much fun, and they're gonna become brothers. And Yuji just watches as Todo and Mai leave at the force of Todo, saying that he has somewhere to be, and it's serious, when it's really not that serious. But he does want to be there, and be there on time. So they leave, and Megami is kind of happy to hear that he just took Itadori's answer, because frankly Megami was going to say something far different than what Itadori was going to say. Itadori shrugs and says, that's the only correct answer, let's be honest. And they decide that they're going to head back to the second years and continue their training. But the second years were actually coming over to help them, but it seems like it was handled pretty quickly. Nobara didn't actually get into much of a fight or a scuffle, and Todo pulled Mai away pretty quickly, so they were gone very, very fast. But with all that done, their training will just continue on for the rest of the month, and now it's time for the competition. Kyoto versus Jujutsu High. And what plan does their team have in store? It's pretty simple. Itadori has told them that he wants to go head on with Todo. They think that this isn't the best idea, but frankly Itadori is probably the one well suited for this. But what they don't know is that something else is going to happen. Something's going to occur that was all ordered by someone who calls themselves an ally. One of the elders, at the request of, well, the greater good of the sorcerers, they need Yuji Itadori to die. So, at the beginning of their group battle, they begin to sprint off, and Yuji stops and waits for Todo to arrive. And when he does, immediately they stare deep at each other, ready for a fight, and Todo calls him his new best friend, that he can tell by the fire of Itadori that he will show him something that he's never seen before, a power unlike anybody else's. He's heard of what he has within him, and he knows this battle is going to be legendary. Itadori smiles and says he agrees, and well, Veldora is amped for this as well, so much so that an aura begins to surround Itadori, And Todo is shocked to see this. It seems like Itadori has even gotten stronger than the last time they've seen each other, and frankly, maybe Todo can't even keep up. But that even intrigues him more and more. This guy, all he does is get stronger. Whatever power he has in the deep depths of his soul, whatever power Veldora holds in the future of this person's, obviously, future of fighting as a sorcerer, he wants to see it all right now. He begins to attack Itadori, in which Itadori is surprised how fast Todo is, but he's able to somewhat gather ground, and their fight is a spectacular one. They go clash for clash, blow for blow. Veldora is even smiling with Itadori. This is the most fun he's had in a long time. Someone that he can fight on equal terms, but it doesn't feel so dangerous. That's until Veldora begins to sense ill intent all around him. He begins to tell Itadori this, and Itadori immediately stops, and so does Todo. Todo tells his team that he has this handled, and he said not to get in his way. They tell him that that's not exactly what he said. He said to leave him alone. And Todo says that's exactly what he meant. He claps his hands, and Itadori is now on a tree and replaced by one of his teammates. Itadori tells them that this is a fight between him and Todo. They better leave now. But they refuse, saying that there was a mission that was given to them, and unfortunately, Itadori must die. But it's not going to be that simple, and Itadori is going to make that very apparent. Look, I don't care who told you to kill me. Frankly, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to give you guys a chance to walk away. A chance to leave before you do something stupid. Mai shoots a bullet straight at his head, but it just clings right off. The aura itself just makes sure that it just pushes off of Itadori, and a shadow, a cloud, no, a formation behind Itadori begins to tower over everybody. It's Veldora the dragon, and storms begin to start asunder, and everything is dark, gloomy, and lightning begins to strike. I told you, and now you've angered Veldora. Is this really what you want? I guess I'm not too against the idea of eliminating a couple of bad apple sorcerers. And Itadori is fueling this anger with Veldora's anger as well. They want to kill Itadori, in turn kill Veldora. Veldora feels a connection with Itadori, and he's ready to unleash any power that he sees to be necessary. But just as he's about to strike one of them, well, the rest of his team shows up, separating them immediately, being that it's only Todo and Itadori once again. He drops down, and Itadori apologizes. He didn't want to threaten, obviously, his teammates that much. He's not that bad of a guy, and Todo says that he did the right thing. But now it's time for him and his brother to fight. And Itadori smiles and clocks back his fist and gets ready. An aura erupts around him, and so does the same happen with Todo, and their strikes begin to clash. This battle is one for the ages, and Itadori is growing more and more as this fight goes on, and he learns various basically techniques from Veldora. Something that is adjusted with curse energy, but the same power that Veldora withholds in himself as well. Anything that Veldora can do, Itadori is learning. He's learning blasts, he's learning strikes, and he's even coming up with curse techniques on the fly. Nothing he wants to use against his good buddy, but even his good buddy wants to teach him something. Todo begins to explain to him how to use Black Flash, a move that is very, very powerful, and Itadori shows him something very similar to it, but actually Todo says that one's different. It seems like your energy is a mix of something else, but if you can combine Black Flash with that move you're using right now, it could be something amazing. He tells Itadori exactly how to do it, and he begins to try his best to learn it. And during this time though, they see a dome begin to arrive and basically cover the entire battlefield. Now that is something interesting. What do you think's going on, Todo? Not sure at all. But I'm sure our partners will be in trouble. How about it, brother? Let's go help them out? Yeah, why not? So Itadori and Todo begin to search for their partners, eventually finding them getting beaten down by this monster. A special grade by the name of Hanami is basically tearing them apart. Megumi, Maki, they can't keep up. None of them can even really keep up. And some already are basically out of commission. Luckily, Panda shows up and he's able to escort as many people out of there as possible. Momo does as well and does the same, and begins to try to get their wounded friends to safety. Yuji and also Todo stand in front of the special grade by the name of Hanami, and Todo says that it's time for them to step up their game a bit. Let's lock Hanami up a bit. I agree. Curse technique, storm dragon imprisonment. Everything all around them begins to become static, and that static becomes this black lightning. The lightning covers the ground and surrounds them. A giant cage begins to appear around them of complete and utter lightning. But that lightning then changes to a cave. It seems like the inside of this place is practically like the cave that Veldora was stuck in. It looks like a domain expansion, and the cursed spirit even thinks that, but that's not exactly the case. Well, Veldora is using his power, outputting it at an insane amount to cover the battlefield into their playground, something they can use to their own advantage, something they can notice very easily. He tells Todo to follow his lead and not make a mistake, because if he lands on the outsides, it's gonna hurt like hell. Todo says that he's pretty good at adapting on the fly and tells him not to worry, that his brother shouldn't worry at all. Immediately the fight begins to rage on, and frankly it's not even fair. Their communication is superb, and this cursed monster, or this cursed spirits, Hanami, she cannot escape this onslaught. Winds begin to pick up in the cave, and they're not even affecting Todo. It seems like Todo is protected by from these winds, but the winds begin to basically throw Hanami around, slamming her into either side of the cave, electrifying her over and over and over again. Nothing that she can do even matters in the face of this. Yuji has transformed Veldora's power into his own, not to its max, only about 30 to 40%. But goddamn, the power is amazing. Veldora says that he learns quickly, that his vessel is extremely impressive, and that the magic they hold is even stronger. True dragon magic is overwhelming, and he begins to say more and more as more of his aura begins to flare up. He puts his hand on Todo and tells him that if they're ready to go, let's get to work once again. They charge back in, teleporting or using the Boogie Woogie, going back and forth from each other and continue their beatdown. Immediately, Itadori is behind them on a fake of him clapping his hands, but he faked it. Itadori has both of his hands on the back of Hanami and just unleashes a giant blast. A blast full of true dragon magic, storm magic, and also cursed energy, and just obliterates the bottom half of Hanami entirely. Hanami is crawling away and is trying to regenerate, trying to regain the composure that she once had, but now she's forced her trump card out, but not even that has helped her enough. This is a battle she can no longer win, but she lucks out, just a little bit. At least that's what she thinks. The cave begins to disappear, and it seems like that Veldora's power might have ran out. But that's just not the case. Veldora sensed something. Sensed Gojo himself breaking through the barrier, and now the barrier is slowly but surely falling down. This is now Hanami's chance to escape. She realizes this. Knowing that it's time to go, she tries to leave, but Itadori will not let that happen, landing a black flash infused in his black lightning, making something so strong. It's no longer a black flash, more like the cursed dragon's wrath. Curse technique. The storm dragon's wrath. Immediately, Itadori is in front of Hanami. The disabled cursed spirit is basically on the ground, not being able to move much, as Itadori lands this blow, landed right on her face, obliterating her entirely before Gojo can even step in and try to stop her from leaving. He smirks to see Itadori, saying to himself that he definitely wants to see how strong this boy is himself. Maybe a good sparring session will tell him just that. But he'll have to think about that later. He goes to help everybody else, and unfortunately the rest of these people, the rest of these cursed spirits and obviously bad sorcerers are gone. And what they learn later is that they escaped with Sukuna's fingers. A lot of them. 6 of them. And this kind of pisses off Itadori. Itadori even tells Gojo that he could have easily just vaporized them. It would have been simple. But whoever sent those other students out to kill him obviously doesn't trust him enough to do so. And Gojo says that it's just one of those things. It's like politics. You don't really understand why it's happening, but it's happening. Itadori shakes his head and says that it doesn't matter anyways. He'll make sure to be strong enough that anybody that they send after him, they won't even have a chance to beat him. Gojo remarks at this and smirks. So what if they send me after you, kid? What if they say, I have to kill you? Itadori looks at him and asks if that's really what he would do. Would he try to kill me? Like, would you try to kill me, Gojo? Not so sure. You know me. If the price is right, maybe. But frankly, I like your swagger, kid. And you're powerful. It would be a shame to see that to go to waste. Frankly, I want to have a little spar with you. How about it? We're going to have some time off anyways. And I'm sure we're going to do some idiotic group tests sooner or later. Let's have a little spar. So, they actually decide to have their small spar, in which Itadori begins to unleash as much power as he possibly can, at least at the state he is currently, putting Gojo on the back foot of substantial amounts. He even thinks that a lot of the cursed spirits, a lot of these special grades would really not stand much of a chance against Itadori. They would need to have something very, very specific to actually stop him. If he lands one clean punch and takes every single battle seriously, a good chunk of them would die at his feet like it was nothing. Maybe these other higher level or special grade spirits, like the ones he's fought right nearly in the past, maybe someone like that would give him some trouble. But frankly, it doesn't look that way. And the way he's progressing, he'll be at tip-top shape, ready to take those type of grades down as if they were child's play as well. Of course, Gojo still has the upper hand. Veldora even tells this to Itadori in the very beginning, that they need to unleash as much power as possible if you want to even stand a chance against Gojo. This dude, he's on a whole different level. But if he's commending Itadori for the strength that he has currently, that means Itadori is definitely going the right way around. And he can tell in Gojo's eyes, well, Veldora can't, that Gojo is excited. But Veldora, you can't even see his eyes. Yes, I can, you idiot. Don't be dumb. Of course I can see past that dumb blindfold. And he has eyes. He's not blind. He's just restricting his power. Gojo even smirks and says that he can hear that, and he actually lifts his blindfold slightly and reveals one of his eyes, and the fight continues on. But Itadori is being outpaced, and Itadori is out of the fight sooner rather than later. The fight is over, but Gojo commends him, saying that he's far past his other first-year students. Frankly, if he's past the level of Aoi Todo, he's on the right track. Maybe Todo was taking it easy on him, but even being at the same level, even slightly higher, now that is impressive. And Yuji thanks him, but he's obviously extremely tired out from the excessive use of his power, and he's taken back to his room. He heads to sleep, and eventually they actually do have their two schools compete in something, but it's a baseball game, and nobody wants to talk about a baseball game. So we're gonna skip over that. But that baseball game goes exactly to normal. That's until soon after the Tokyo Jujutsu High first years, Megumi, Nobara, and Yuji, have another mission. And that's to investigate mysterious deaths that are basically connected to Megumi's alma mater. And when he finds out, when everybody finds out that Megumi was basically a bully, they find that extremely hilarious. But even with that said, they learn more and more about what's occurring until they finally figure it out. Megumi, being that his sister is under some sort of trance and he wants to handle this on his own, tries to send Yuji and Nobara away, but that doesn't work out too well for him. Actually, Yuji and Nobara show up basically right outside the battlefield with him immediately at night when he tried to go out as well. Yuji and Nobara tell him that he's not alone in this and that Yuji wants a good fight, so he's definitely not gonna just let him fight on his own. And Megumi just shakes his head and that saying that they're the same people he's always known. And so they basically head in and they cross this little stream. Once they cross that stream, everything begins to change. They are now in a completely different area, and two curses begin to strike at them, and it seems like there's an abundance of them around. First off, Nobara is taken into this odd-looking portal, forced to fight a different curse. But immediately Yuji chases after another one, as Megumi says that he will handle this on his own. He can't rely on Yuji's strength. He can't rely on him forever, and he's heard what Gojo said. The potential of this one is further and stronger than everybody. So even him and Nobara need to step the hell up. By hearing the words of Gojo, about hearing his sensei encourage him to do certain things, encourage him to be stronger, and on top of that, hearing Gojo speak so highly of Yuji. The fact that he doesn't want to fall behind, and that if he can't obtain strength like Yuji's, well then he won't be able to protect people like him. And he wants to protect everybody, anybody he possibly can, especially for the sake of his sister. So he begins to unleash his power, unleash everything, unleash his domain expansion, Chimera, Shadow Garden. Now Megumi is unleashing everything. He won't be losing to this curse. Never again. While their fight basically comes to an end and Megumi absolutely obliterates the cursed spirits, there's another fight currently going on, and that is between Yuji and Nobara and the Curse Wombed brothers and this decay technique. Yuji unfortunately has been hit with this technique, and so has Nobara, but Yuji begins to believe that with Veldora's help he should be able to push through this pain and restrict this poison. Veldora explains that they can analyze this decay and he may even be able to cure Yuji himself, but it's going to take some time, and it would be a lot easier if Yuji stood still. So Yuji decides that he's going to give Veldora as much time with him standing still. But that's until this cursed spirit decides to take actions into his own hands, and so does his brother. About to strike both Yuji and Nobara, he apologizes to Veldora. I know it's going to make it harder on you, but I gotta move. He strikes the spirit in the stomach and immediately sends it flying. His onslaught begins, and Nobara begins to basically pelt that same cursed spirit with her technique, trying to avoid the smaller brother, but Yuji decides that the best course of action is to take this thing out right now, slamming his fist into the ground, electrocuting with black lightning the younger brother, or the smaller brother you could say, and the other cursed spirit calls out to his brother and screams, "My brother, no, what did you do to him?" Yuji continues his onslaught on the perpetrator, telling him to unleash his infection, undo his infection and undo the poison that he's basically put upon them, but he refuses, but then realizes the only way he can actually save his brother right now from obviously this other girl to kill him, well, he has to drop it. He has to somehow get by Yuji. Maybe he has enough power to get by him. But Yuji sees what he's going to do And right when he drops the poison, right when Yuji can feel his power restored fully and not restricted by any means, he smirks. Yeah, that was a bait. Unfortunately, you'll be taking your leave. He extends his hands and he makes a small barrier of black lightning around them once again, and it turns into the cave. And Yuji's voice slowly but surely changes. Welcome to the cave of the Storm Dragon. Yuji begins his onslaught, blasting the cursed spirit into basically nothingness, winding up a final attack and basically using his black flash, or more or less the hybrid version of it, the curse technique, Storm Dragon's Wrath, immediately landing this blow, and it begins to travel up and down the body of the cursed spirits, or what they truly are curse users. Unfortunately, Itadori has to kill a human. Killing this person actually makes him question a couple things, and he brings this up to Nobara. Nobara says that you basically have to make the hard choices, and that's been blatantly obvious since they got there. Yuji knows that better than anybody. They tried to plan an assassination on him, and he was ready to take their lives as well. Yuji nods and says that he has more to do. He wants to help people, save them, do anything he possibly can, and the people that want to take that away from him, take the power away and also his life, will not be treated as an ally. And Nobara smirks, saying that he just got a lot more attractive, she's not gonna lie, but they both then head out, meeting up with Megumi. Megumi hands over basically the cursed finger, in which Yuji grabs and completely evaporates it. The more of these fingers I kill, the least likely Sukuna's coming back, and frankly, he won't even be strong enough by the time that I'm done with most of these fingers. They have 6 of them, correct? They took 6 of them? Megumi responds saying that that is true, but Yuji says that it won't matter. He'll make sure to annihilate as many as he can, and when they find a vessel for him, well, good luck, because that vessel won't be getting all 20. With all that done, they help Megumi up and they head back to the school. During their time of getting some rest and basically just their downtime with training and relaxing and stuff like that, after a mission like the one they just went through, unbeknownst to them, they have a special surprise in order. And this special surprise is Mei and Aoi Todo suggesting and actually recommending that Yuji, Megumi, Nobara, Maki, and Panda all be classified as grade 1 sorcerers. With that being a wrap, we're not sure what Veldora and Yuji have next in store, but that is for another time, another story. So if you enjoyed, I really hope you did, leave a comment down below, leave a like, leave a sub, all that good stuff. And again, thank you all so much for all the support throughout this my entire year on YouTube so far. It wasn't really a year, I would say, but on my channel it does say today was the year anniversary, so we'll go based off of that. So I hope all y'all enjoyed, and I hope y'all have an amazing day and keep enjoying my content as long as I keep making good content. Okay, have an amazing day, everyone. Later.